What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and this is part 19 of what I hope is a never-ending series, Immortality, of reviews and rankings of the Grateful Dead's archival concert release series, Dave's Picks. I started with number 1, I review it, I rank it. So like number 3, I ranked it among the top 3. This one, I've already ranked the other 18. I will review number 19 and then tell you where it fits among the other 18, and then continue on for as long as they keep releasing them. This is a 3 CD release from 1970. The first 2 discs are a complete show from January 23rd, and then the 3rd disc is material from the following show. The shows are the last 2 shows that TC, Tom Constantin, played with the band. So that's kind of a neat release, or a neat fact about this. Also, at least when I was trading tapes, I'm pretty sure these Honolulu, Hawaii shows were not in circulation. At least I couldn't find them on any of my sort of list of things I knew were out there. And so it's kind of cool. If I don't know if they had popped up in recent years or if this was the grand unveiling of them, but just kind of an all around exciting release as far as like when it's from, what it represents, the rarity of the release, TC's last shows. In listening to the Dave's Picks up to just talking about what they've released up to this point, this is the 3rd release that's essentially focused on a 3-month period at the end of 1969 into 1970. They released a bunch of December 69 stuff, some February 70 stuff, and I have just absolutely fallen in love with this pocket era of the Dead more than anything, and think these releases are fantastic. I think number 2 on the list, I will show the list at the end of the video, is the 69-70 hybrid release that is just, perfect, absolutely perfect. And this is a pretty perfect release too. There is a large elephant in the room that I'm not going to talk about for a while. That slightly hindered my ranking of this, but that is a personal elephant I have to deal with. It's an elephant on my back, shall we say. But the music, disc 1, I think it's, I don't think there's a set break. There is a break after about 50 minutes, but it doesn't sound like there's like an actual break. It sounds like the show goes on. So it's one kind of long 2-hour show from what I gather. And the first disc, even though the last song on the first disc bleeds into the first song on the second disc, right? It's not the end of the set. The first disc itself really much feels like this self-contained, just amazing experience of music. And it reminds me of the San Antonio Spurs back in the day, like the 2003, 2005, 2007, back in that run, the Parker, Ginobili, Duncan run, when no matter who they were playing, and for the sake of this argument, they're playing the best other team in the league. The games would be intensely competitive and like close with maybe a 5-point swing either way, for almost the first 3 quarters, right? And that is kind of like what the first maybe 75% of the first disc sounds like. Really competitive, really intense. Maybe you can see the other team gets a lead for a while at one point in the show, but it's really intense and focused for like the first almost 2/3 of this release. And this is what you get in the first 2/3 of this release. You get a China Cat, I Know You Rider opener, fantastic energy, sounds just awesome. These shows have that very raw 69-70 sound. The band has that raw, sort of, for lack of a better word, electric energy that makes it just sound like they're at that point where they realize they have something special and they can do special things and they can go special places with their music. And you can feel that sort of just electricity in the air whenever they play on all of these releases. So you get a China Rider that opens up with just amazing amounts of energy. A Black Peter, which, yes, while a ballad, is pretty intense and doesn't let you relax in any sort of way. Jerry breaks the string, and he's going to fix it because he's the one that broke it, as Bob tells us. So Bob tells the yellow dog story, which is about a dog that's not actually a dog, and nor is it naturally yellow. It involves a bar and a man. But anyways, after the yellow dog story, we get a hard to handle, a pretty good hard to handle, a Mama Tried, a Casey Jones. The Casey Jones cuts after about a minute plus. but they released everything they had from the show. Apparently, they didn't have all of the Casey Jones, but they released what they did have, which is kind of cool. After that, we get kind of the lead into a Dire Wolf. Not a Dire Wolf fan. This is the part in the first three quarters when the other team has like a 5-point lead. But it's a pretty good version. It's pretty kind of relaxed and chill and laid back, and it kind of just doesn't really start as much as everybody just kind of joins along as if they're just like walking down a path casually, like, oh, I'll join you, and then next thing you know, you have a Dire Wolf. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of a good listen. I like it better than other ones. And then we get a good lovin' to sort of wrap up the third quarter, right? And then we have the fourth quarter, which is what is remaining on the first disc. And that is a 22-minute That's It for the Other One. And it starts off like you think it's going to go like the other three quarters. That's it for the other one. Da-da-da-da-dum, ba-bum-ba. Sounds great. It sounds tight. The band is in it. We get a nice little drum break. And then bam, Phil puts the pedal to the metal. The bomb drops and we are off. Game is over. Next thing you know, the Spurs have a 15-point lead. The band is in the next level. They've taken it, like, they're not even in the auditorium anymore. They're just going out there to, like, not to, like, space, because we're not getting to those deep spacey parts yet, but we're just attacking full throttle, just going at it. Jerry is just being Jerry in his just purest, rawest form. It's just another one that is all the power of all the other ones. It's the power it's the other one you want. Like, they deliver the other one you want them to deliver. No really weird detours, nothing new as far as like melodic ideas. It's just the intensity that you want from the other one when they play the other one. Just great. Then they go back into Cryptical Envelopment, and then they eventually find their way into Dark Star, which is fades out, and we're done with disc one. Game over. Spurs won by 15. Just an absolutely perfect first disc of music, even with the Casey Jones cutoff. Disc two, where the elephant in the room sits. We get a nice 20-minute Dark Star, nice exploring before the first verse, some deep, deep space after the first verse, eventually return, finish the song, make our way into a St. Stephen that's pretty good. You can almost feel them leaning into the 11 at the end, like they're about to like tilt that way, but then they kind of just call it quits and run right into an elephant. But the Dark Star is pretty good. I don't think it's like one of the definitive Dark Stars, but it's definitely in no way bad. The energy is good. They're hitting all the right sweet spots. They're definitely in exploring modes. You get a lot of just like them having a good time up on stage doing Grateful Dead improvisational stuff. St. Stephen's pretty tight. It feels like there's something maybe unfinished about it because they don't get that release and they kind of just call it a quits. And they go into Turn On Your Love Light. A 38-minute Turn On Your Love Light, which closes out the rest of the disc and ends the show. And Love Lights, like what a Love Light is in this era is you get like the song, and then you get like all these sort of pocket jams in which you'll get like maybe like a typical 4 minutes of the song. Then you get a jam, and then Pigpen comes back in and rants, or there's another little verse that he sings at one point. Then we get another jam, and then Pigpen will come back in, and then another jam. And it's sort of like this Pigpen with these pocket jams that pop up throughout the song. And sometimes it seems like it's a 50-50 split and you're getting just as much Pigpen as you do music. Sometimes it seems like there's a lot more music and the jams are going much farther and lengthier and just exploring ideas in a little more out there way. And then other times you get more Pigpen and it feels like the jams never really get a chance to like really stretch out. Unfortunately, that's what this one is. A lot of Pigpen, and there are these pocket jams, but it seems like once they reach like the 2.5 minute mark, it's like the plug is pulled. Pigpen steps back in, tells the band to tighten up, and and he goes off on another rant. At one point, Jerry picks up a slide, just starts playing some super nasty slide guitar work that is unfortunately way too short. I think at one point somebody else climbs on stage and starts yelling into one of the microphones or starts ranting along with Pigpen, and he's trying to encourage him, but nothing comes of that. Bob really gets into the closing vocals at the end and kind of takes over with the Love Light yells, the exchange with Pigpen. You can see Bob's jealousy rearing its head. He's waiting for decades to finally get that chance to finally do that, or a decade. But anyways, yeah. It's got some good energy throughout, and there are some really interesting moments, but it is just kind of long. I think it's about 25 minutes through it when we get a good like a 3-4 minute jam in the middle that's kind of good, but for the most part, it's Pigpen centric. And I would, even though this is going to get a high ranking, I would rank it higher if this was shorter and or consisted of 40 minutes of other stuff. But that's me. And then that's the end of the first show in the second disc. Disc 3 opens up with the Cumberland Blues. Sounds fantastic, high energy. We get a Cold Rain and Snow, Me and My Uncle. We get a pretty rare I'm a King Bee, which is nice to hear, well performed. And then that goes into Mason's Children. And when this was first released, the PR for this, I think it might have been Dave himself, but somebody was quoted as saying, this is arguably the best Mason's Children ever played. And having heard it, and having heard many other Mason's Children, I would say that this is by far the best Mason's Children ever played. The song itself, which was, I think, recorded for the Working Man's Dead and just never released, eventually it has been by like all the archival releases, always kind of reminded me of Casey Jones, and it just felt like an anomaly. The structure of the song was this kind of awkward tightness that just didn't let the band be the band. And so that's why I thought it never really worked live. But what worked for Casey Jones live was that chugging rhythm at the end where they kind of got that locomotive head of steam going. And there was a moment in this Mason's Children, I think it's like after the first run of vocals or second run of vocals, when there's just this jam that just feels like this almost runaway train, and the band is finally locking into some sort of just like hypnotic almost but heavy groove, and it just takes the song to a whole other level. I mean, they hit it hard from the get-go. The energy is great. You can tell the band is enjoying it. That I'm a King Bee just brought some whatever energy they needed. It brought it because all of a sudden things are just more energetic. But yeah, it's a great Mason's Children. That energy feeds over into Black Peter, which is intense. We get a Good Lovin', which kind of fades out during the solo. As with the Casey Jones, I guess this is a little different because they didn't have to release this because this really is a compilation of stuff from the 24th. But even though we don't get the full Good Lovin' and it fades out during the solo, it is such a good solo. It is like, every time I listen to this, I almost forget that I'm in a Good Lovin', and it kind of feels like I'm in a Turn on Your Love Light, as if Jerry, like feeling bitter from the night before, not being able to jam as hard as he wants to, is really going to lean in this Good Lovin' and give it like a Turn on Your Love Light type. Let's just go. Let's push the boundaries of this Good Lovin'. Let's keep jamming. But we don't get to find out where it goes because it fades out during the solo. So kind of disappointing, but it is still worth hearing regardless. Then we get a feedback for about a minute and a half. This goes into a fantastic And We Bid You Goodnight. The audience is singing along. When it's all over, Jerry or Bob, one of them's like, hey, take this home. This is your sing-along. Keep going. Sing us out. Sing yourself home. And everybody's saying, we bid you good night. The clapping and the singing, and it just feels fantastic, man. And the recording of this, like there's enough audience presence. You almost feel like you're standing right in front of the soundboard in like the Honolulu Civic Auditorium, just enjoying the show. And then we get a great Dancing in the Street to close out. Just a nice, really sweet jam in the middle. This is the best era for Dancing in the Streets, this 70 era, and another just great Dancing in the Street. Just an absolutely stupid 3 CD release, even with that 38-minute elephant in the room. But anyways, how would I rank them? Where would I rank it? More the question. Right there. Number 6 falls right there after 3 73/74 shows. The other 69-70 show of stuff that kind of bookended this, like a month before and a month after, or weeks before and a month before and weeks after. And then that really nice 72 show. But yeah, I would say the top 6 on this list are like the S tier, S++, creme de la creme. Then you get a run of stuff that's like lower S tier, high A tier. And it's maybe only the several in the very back, which are good with moments of greatness. But it's been a pretty stellar release series so far. Much kudos to Dave and the Dead. But yeah, I would put it in number 6. Again, there might be recency bias because I have a hardcore crush on this era right now because of Dave. But yeah, it's good stuff. And if you like Love Light, if you like Pigpen, this might be higher for you because I think it's a fantastic show. But anyways, that's all I got. Let me know what you think if you've heard this, why you think I'm wrong, why you think I'm right, why you think I'm an idiot, why you think I'm not an idiot, all that kind of stuff. You know how it works. Subscribe, like, share, and more importantly, go listen to music, people. Listen to all the music because, as a wise man once said, music is the best. Happy holidays. Stay warm. Peace.